Good morning. Welcome to the Black Pearl Radio Show. I'm your host, Mr. Tyler. Today we are talking about black filmmakers, and we're discussing the future of Afrocentric movie productions. So I have two young ladies on the line with me now. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into the discussion. So, Akima, you can go first.
Okay. My name is Akima T. Moore. I am a black female filmmaker and a few other things. I am very happy to be here. I am very passionate about film, about media as a whole, so that includes TV and digital as well. I've been in the industry as an actor since Sesame Street in the 80s, and as a filmmaker, meaning a writer, a producer, a director, since about 2007. So I love what I do. I do what I love. I make the most to help it make my life complete and be able to eat as well. And I'm always here to work with and for other people of color. So, hi.
Thank you very much. And Karshina, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, that was a great introduction. Hi, my name is Karshina Jefferson. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm also a black filmmaker, but I am specifically a horror film director. I've been making horror films since 2010. I also am a working actress, so any of the viewers can IMDb me, and they probably have seen me or on commercials that are running currently or anything. But I have been in this game for a very long time, and I love it. But specifically, I really love the horror genre. That is a genre that a lot of black people in general, male or female, have not really tapped into, of course, aside what we're going to talk about today, but except for, your early 5-minute death scene because you didn't have a good agent, because you didn't get to the sequel. So right. I'm hoping to change that soon. But I am out of Los Angeles. I am the only female horror director as far as having my own production company. It's called Verse Films Productions. And we write, we produce, as well as make sure that we are seen amongst, Hollywood, whether it be black Hollywood or whether it just be Hollywood in general. So, hello out there.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies, for the introduction. So I'm going to open up the show with the first question, and this is for Akima, and it's a very broad question. What is the state of black film productions as it corresponds to you as a black female producer, director, writer, actor? What do you feel the state is for black females within the film industry when it comes to film production?
So, yes, it is a broad question, and a loaded one, actually. I think that my take on the state is going to be very different from my sister Karshina here because I'm in New York, and New York, LA is very different, right? So for me, as a, it just is. But for me, on a Hollywood, national, studio, and network level, female black is the new black for the moment. Because you have your Avas, you have your Melinas, you have your Maras, you have your Shondas, right? And they're making film and they're making TV, and it's moving and everybody loves it and it's great and the studios are greenlighting left and right, and that's amazing, right? But if you're not in that clique and you're not known, then it's a different world for you. Now they're opening doors and they're opening eyes, and hopefully they're opening minds. But on the independent level, it's very different. Now we have our heroes like Dee Reese, who's come up through the independent ranks. We have a host of them, actually. But if you are in the independent space, you are still fighting. You are still fighting other sisters to get a role or to get a director job or a producer job. You are still fighting brothers who are trying to keep it to themselves. You are still fighting white people who are like, yeah, that's cute, but I'm going to hire my brother's nephew's cousin's sister because I owe them a favor. So it is very, very, it's still a process. It's still a mile-high hike. But we are not waiting anymore, and that's what makes me happy. We are not waiting to be given permission or opportunities. We are writing ourselves. We are shooting ourselves. We are editing. We are directing. We are creating. We are producing. We are farming ourselves out to each other to fill in the gaps that our sisters don't maybe have access to. So if I'm a writer but I don't direct or produce, I'm going to go find myself a writer and a producer. And now there's so many amazing groups. I know in New York, too, that I frequent consistently outside of NIWIFT, which is a much bigger thing, which I am a member of. I've been a member for about 4 years now. For those that don't know, it's the New York Women in Film and Television.
Right.
But there are some grassroots groups that are doing amazing things, specifically for people of color, but they are run by women. So they service women of color in the film industry very well. It is the Black Film Space. One of the co-founders and co-creators is Londe Youssef. She's a writer-producer. She came from TV. Black Film Space does everything from writers, screenwriters' rooms to workshops to panels to outings to mixers. It's amazing, and they provide so much information and opportunities for us to network laterally amongst each other, as opposed to looking to always try to get to those people that are above where we may be in our careers, because they're not looking at us at the moment a lot of the time, unless you know somebody that knows somebody that might know somebody. And then there's the Black TV and Film Collective, which is also run by a woman, Haria Muhammad. And Haria just got into she just got the Jerome Foundation grant for one of her projects, and she just got into what is it? It's another program, Tribeca All Access, with one of her projects. And we are collectively a finalist in another one that I can't say because we're not in yet. But she's doing amazing things for up-and-coming writers, directors, producers as well. So in general, the state is hopeful, I believe, but we're not waiting, and we're doing with and for each other. And that's the part that makes me extremely excited, because when I first started doing this, I was the only one. When I did the NYU producer program, I was the only little brown girl. I was the only brown person in the room in my classes. So not even the only little brown girl, I was the only brown person. But I, in my life, even in my corporate life before creative, have been the only or the other. So I'm used to it. And I'm happy to go out in all those lovely white spaces and bring all the information back home. I do it all the time.
So let me ask this question for Karshina. Based on what Okima just said, how does that relate to you when it comes to being a horror filmmaker within LA?
That was great, Akima. That's awesome. And I know all about being the single black, only black, token black, all the lonely blacks versions of that. I agree to an extent. However, I'm also originally from the South, so I'm from the East Coast, and I also used to live in New York as well. So I've done my stint in New York. I grew up in the South, so that was even a major solo black project, as you can imagine, and then moving out to LA. Only thing I disagree with is that we've always been here. We've never waited to an extent. We just were not seen. We just were not found. We just did not have the means to present ourselves. Like when YouTube was blowing up, you know, there were a lot of us who were doing stuff on YouTube trying to get our channel, you know, up. But it wasn't what the public was looking for. They were looking for, if you recall back in the day, those Vine videos, they were looking for those 1-minute things that people can do, and then it became, okay, it's 1-minute videos, but it was like stoner humor. It was more about, I'm going to blog about hair, I'm going to blog about makeup, I'm going to talk about this or that. So less and less of actual producers and directors and writers who were doing like short films, like myself or like others that I know, were being put in the back burner. So we never waited. We just were, as far as writing things or as far as directing things, we were just in the process of making sure that we were seen. And of course, you know, the attention span of everyone is those Vine videos, and that was our problem. It's how do you make a film within that 30 seconds, within that 60 seconds. I mean, they're out there. Oh, trust me, they are out there. But when you are, and I'm pretty sure, like Akima would test, when you are a writer, when you are a director, 30 seconds is a challenge, but that's not what you're aiming for. You want to have like an actual movie. You want to have, you know, a beginning, a middle, and the end. You want to make sure that you show something of worth And that means, no, I'm going to now make you sit down, plop down, and watch my stuff like you would normally do at a regular movie theater. Not just, oh, okay, 30 seconds, she's cool for the moment. No, I actually want to invest in this person because they actually took the time to write, 90 pages, to write 120 pages for this actual epic movie. So with that being said, yes, there are a lot of groups. There are a lot of places where, we as Black females specifically and then Black people in general can go to make sure that we are being seen. But the agreement comes from, it's a clique. If you're not part of the Shonda group, or if you're not part of the Oprah group, or you're not part of that group where you just magically got discovered by Lee Daniels to be that triple threat where you sing, you dance, you do rap songs, you can go from Bel Air to the Gucci house, whatever. Those girls, I'm so proud of them that, I shout out to all of them because they are, in a sense, paving the way, because there has not been a conversation where I go into meetings where it's like, oh, are you writing for network like blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yes, I was on Grey's Anatomy. I know that very well. Oh, so then you do? No, I do not do that. I do something different. But one of the things that I do speak about passionately is the fact that we can do the same things as everyone else is doing. I mean, you have your Asian American group, you have your Indian American group, you have your Native American group, you have all these groups that are trying to be seen. And my passion is, okay, great, everyone's trying to do this. Okay, let's do a drama. Let's do a slave drama. Okay, let's do a slave drama now in the modern sense. Okay, let's do a slave drama now just about women. Let's now do a slave drama about Revolution War. It's like, okay, where are you going to put us in the box? I'm passionate about showing that there are other genres out there that we do well. And if it takes doing something that's off the cuff, such as horror, such as thrillers, such as detective stories, things that they don't think that we do anyway, aside from dying within 5 minutes, then that is what we have to do to be seen. And then if you want to go ahead and do your Blackish comedies, then if you want to do your 7 seconds, Netflix, great. But do something that's going to get your pinky toe, at least the toenail, in the door to be like, what do you do again? Oh, I write for drama. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got a dozen of you. But when you say, hi, my name is Karsheen Jefferson, I just finished up a Russian short horror film, they're like, what? What? Russian short, do you speak Russian? Then the conversation keeps going. Then the conversation opens doors. Then the conversation says, oh, this is a different Black girl. This is almost like that German Black girl that was in that movie with the slaves. And it's like, yeah, we speak other languages too. But I really feel like our industry needs to do something out of the norm, and we are, to shake things up. And we have, obviously, what we're going to talk about, Black Panther, shaking it up as a superhero. We've always had superheroes. Hello, we've had Storm from X-Men. We have Tigress as well. We have Jon Stewart, the best Green Lantern. And then we have all the others that are out there. And then think about those movies that have not been made. I would rather see a Storm epic drama than I would see a Black Widow. I'm like, all right, Russian girl, great, lovely, but do you not understand Storm getting her powers from Africa? Hence again, another African movie. You know what I mean? It's like those are the type of stories that people are waiting for, something that's out of the norm. And so that's what I feel like a lot of our Black films and filmmakers need to do things and shake it up out of the norm. So then that conversation piece becomes, oh, I don't have one of you. And they do. They say, oh, I don't have one of you. I've got the slave drama. I've got the
So, Karshina, let me interrupt you for 1 second. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So the slave drama, right, Nate Parker's slave drama, The Birth of a Nation, didn't really make any money. So the slave drama didn't really pop off this year or last year. But we had Get Out, Black Panther, Fast and the Furious, Moonlight, Girls Trip, all movies that weren't dealing with any type of slave narrative type of thing, that all were big blockbusters. And you guys mentioned that you're doing it yourselves. So my question is, if we're doing it ourselves, how do we finance the next blockbuster? And I'm going to throw that question to Akima.
Okay. So just to wrap up what Karsheen was saying, I totally agree. I didn't mean for it to come off as we were always waiting. I think that this new generation has, whereas we were in need of access to especially equipment in the early days because there were no DSLRs back then, these kids just go for it. And now we're just going for it. And so that's where I was coming from. But I totally agree on everything else that you have said in that we do need to branch out. And so, Tyler, yes, we do have all of these wonderfully successful Black movies from this season that were not slave narratives because baby Jesus loves us. And it's amazing. But as far as financing, especially if you are an independent that, like Karshina said, that is not in the clique, you know, you don't know Brad Pitt to get on a B2, and you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't know those people. Financing comes in so many various forms. Now, God bless crowdfunding, but I'm not a big fan. I feel like it's now the independent filmmakers ATM, and everybody is trying. And then you have people that are crowdfunding for all kinds of weird, odd, not necessary things. Like, my boyfriend wants to take me on a date. Can you give us $50? Like, it's crazy. So it's not the source that it once was for us in terms of trying to get people to invest in us. So now I know for a lot of people that I know, there are a lot of hedge funds out there that are looking to invest in film and cinema. Coming from finance, that's what my degree is in. I worked in finance for almost 20 years. I know many of the hedge funds that I worked for here in New York had specific film and entertainment sectors. Now, granted, they may not look for, you know, Okima's next feature immediately. However, there are definitely more distribution houses, Black-owned and Black-run, that are popping up. You have a lot more Black and brown multimillionaires who want to fund film and get into the film game, so they do it from the independent space. You have a lot of, and then you have a lot of roundabout ways. I mean, if you have, the thing is, as a creator, you should have several things on deck, right? Because if you're actively pitching your work and you only have one thing to pitch, baby, sit down. Because 9 times out of 10, that one thing that you think is a hit, they're not going to want. And they're going to ask you what else you got. And those 3 things that you have in your pocket, one of those 3, if not all 3, could be the thing to get you in the door. So if you are pitching and actively pitching, there's so many programs, there's so many networks that are looking for content. There are a lot of Black-owned and Black-run networks that are consistently looking for content. Your Aspires, your Ups, your BET Hers. I don't know how we became a Black network, but we is somehow a Black network. All their Black content isn't positive content, but they're always looking for Black content. Oxygen, always looking for Black content. Let me tell you, these white faces are looking for brown faces. Don't get it twisted. So there's a lot of ways for you to get in the door, but being a part of a lot of these groups and a lot of these networking sects get you in those doors. I know that BTSC is always pitching that somebody has come to them looking for this or that, whether it's an actor or a project or hiring people. I know for me, I get in the door because I produced from a network level. I started, when I wanted to switch into network television, I started coordinating. I was the coordinator for Oprah's Masterclass. I'm now the coordinator for Chopped on Food Network. So it's a matter of branching out and thinking outside of the box of how you can step indoors and then get your toes wet in those spaces. People then know you do other things outside of that, and they begin to inquire. But the key to all of that is quality work. The problem is there's so much non-quality work in the streets that people are not everybody wants to get their stuff in Tribeca and Cannes and Sundance, but they have, like, you know, the work is not there. The quality is not there. And there's no need for it. And I only say that because there's so many people, I'm sure, that person that may not have the best work out knows laterally. Not a Shonda, not a Issa, but they know a Shanika and they know a Travis who knows how to color correct. They know a Ronald who knows how to do audio. They know these people. So they need to invest in ensuring that the work is quality so that they can get the bigger eyes. Because if your work is ass, I'm sorry, nobody's going to care how much you're passionate about it. I can be passionate about going to the moon, but if I haven't trialed and traveled and trained as a space cadet, guess what? I'm going to be looking at the moon through my telescope off my couch. You have to do the work, and it has to be quality.
That work,
no. So let me ask you guys a question about streaming services, and I'm going to take this to our next guest. So when we talk about streaming services, how does that relate to making money, right? We have YouTube, Vimeo, possibly Netflix. How do we make money off of our films by using streaming services? Do you guys feel that's a good avenue? Karshina, I'm going to throw that question to you.
Well, that all goes back to what Akima was saying, is that, once you got your social, as far as, I produce this, or I work with this, and then somebody asks you a question to get your financing together, then you can go ahead and move forward and try to send it out. I recall a story from the Duffer Brothers. I was at a Netflix event for Stranger Things, and the Duffer Brothers were like, look, we came out of Adam. We did one good thing, and that's it. But we knocked on Netflix door, and they said no the first time. We knocked on these type of doors, and they said no the first time. Even we had trouble. But then when we presented it a different way, then they were like, oh, yeah, come on in. Everyone thinks that it's so easy to, pop up on Netflix, because every month, there's always a new show that pops up on Netflix. And you're like, oh, I could have done, that show, or I could have, where are they getting this money from? Well, who are they hiring? How are they doing things? It's actually quite hard to get on these new streaming services. You can do an Amazon Prime. You can do that. And I don't want to say a buy-in, so that's not technically what it is. I forget the actual way. But you can sign up for their distribution, and have your film vetted, have your film ready to go, have it all packaged up, ready to go, and they'll put it out there. And then people who stream it, you can do your 99 cents or your iTunes, money version, and the percentage that you get from that is what you would get. So it's very small. So even in terms of, even if you get them to vet your film and put it up on their site, like a book, like, oh, look, I was a publisher, but it's only on Amazon, and that's it. It's not like at Random House. It's not like at any of the other sites. Then it becomes okay, well, how many people now am I going to say to family or friends, hey, buy my thing that you saw for free last month at a festival, or buy my thing that so you can make and reap that money. It's hard. It's like trying to sell out a 99-seat theater. You're trying to tell your friends, hey, I've got a show going on, but if you buy this seat, that's how you're making your money. So it is actually quite hard, at least in that sense. The other sense is, once you get your financing together, putting it up on Vimeo or putting it up on YouTube, those are, and I'm just going to straight say it, those are more popularity contests. Because if you don't have 40,000 views, if you don't have your 20, you could be the Travis Scott. You could be that Moonlight, dope. That is some good stuff. And there are some really great stuff. I work with great cinematographers, great post-production houses. These people work with Game of Thrones, HBO. These people are like my people. But then it becomes but then when I put it up, I don't have 40,000 people. I don't have people to look at my stuff. So the financing goes in relation with, well, then who's going to see it? Then that means that person who is that higher up is going to say, great, she did great, but she doesn't have the means to get our money back because she doesn't have people that's looking at her work. So that's the disconnect. We can put it up on, like I said, all these socials. We can even finally get a Netflix, shout out. But if we don't have that, quote-unquote, popularity to make them money, to make it back, that it's an investment. If you can't get that investment money back, then it's not going to work for you. I know private backers that you can speak with, and people who just say, hey, if you just want to make your movie, put it up, and then see how it runs. Festivals are great for that. When people put their stuff in festivals, I have things running in festivals now, and the question is, do I send it to a distributor? Do I want it even out there? Do I now want them to look at it and be like, great, we'll distribute your film. You can make this much money. but this is how we're also going to change it. So it's like, do you want them to change your things, or do you want to keep it and be all, look at me, I am, person, hear me roar, to be the owner of my, and have the rights to my stuff? So it's a very hard question. It's hard to get it financed, and it's hard to get things to make that money unless you are truly found, and unless you truly are in that, I want to say, in that popularity club where you've got people who are like, look at me, hashtag, watch my show, and then, oh, yeah, by the way, 99 cents. I mean, that's just my take on it.
So let me ask you guys this question. The Oscars are coming on tonight, right? We have the Oscars coming on tonight. Do we care? Is it something we as filmmakers, creators should be watching and be involved in some sort of way, or is it not necessary?
You always care. At least for me. Yeah. You always care. You always care.
I think that people take this whole – so, yes, of course we care. I think that it is important to care because these are things that will get you more work. So shout out to all the hoteps that say screw the man and this is not yet. That's great. But of course you care. You care as a fan because you want to see people that you think are worthy of reverence and accolades get them. You care as a filmmaker because you know that the work that wins in this, if it's your genre, like the fact that Get Out was a horror or a thriller and they try to put it in a comedy label is retarded, but at the end of the day, it is a black-helmed thriller. So guess what? Now Karshina has something when she's pitching to put towards when she's talking about things in her genre that have done well in the main market. Because in a pitch, you're talking about that. They're asking for comparables. Now she has a huge comparable for herself, and the fact that it's black-helmed is another notch in her belt and feather in her cap. We care. The issue is, in my opinion, that we cannot consistently utilize that as the only gauge of our worth and our accolades and what have you, because it is a system that was not created to benefit us in the first place. So we cannot think that that system that was not created for us in the first place will kowtow to us because we want them to. That's not how that works. Time's Up is moving because it's white women. They are famous white women that have complaints, so that's why Time's Up is a thing. If it was just black women that were complaining, if it was just, if it was just your Shondas and just your Violas, nobody would give two damns. But because it's Meryl and all these other white women that people look at as porcelain dolls, they care. So it's a thing. Just like this whole gun control thing. When it was Black Lives Matter, we were riots and we were detriments to society. These kids are white kids because they're forming all of these things about the things that are happening to a lot of white people. So it's a thing now. It's like the opioid crisis and crack. When it was crack, they were degenerates, they were terrible. It's opioids and white people. Oh, my God, it's mass hysteria, and it's happening. So let's pay attention. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So we care from a creative standpoint, and we want to see our people win, but we cannot utilize that as the only thing that says we matter. Because how many of us show up to get our awards at the NAACPs? How many of us show up to get our awards at the smaller festivals? But we all show up to the big stuff. We have to continue to create our own and still bolster what happens in their world, in the mainstream world, because they both matter. They both matter. And the sooner we realize that, we can care about their stuff and build our own stuff too, and one doesn't have to trump the other or what have you, the sooner we'll be happy where we are and push to get further and not worry about having these tips about unnecessary, stupid, menial things that really aren't progressing our process anyway. Just my 2 cents.
No, and if I can piggyback and make it at least $1, I want to make sure.
Yes, sis.
It is a thing where we do care because in a room, in a voting committee, we all know what the voting committee is. They're just a group of these people who are not in a room, but it's the majority of the voting committee is 75% white older males between the ages of 65 and 85, if you really want to look at it. And then the next 15% out of that are voting white males from the ages of 45 to 65. And then you have that small, like 4% that's like, okay, now we're back on track to the 20s to the 30s, and then we have that one small 2%. The fact that we do have a black female who is over the Oscars, that in itself is great. I was happy for that. But then again, remember, these are just no, let me stop. They're not just, but I was going to say they're accolades to present to the world and say these are the best of the best of the best that we deem the best. You may think that this show was the best, obviously, but we, in terms of finance, in terms of acting, in terms of their comeuppance, in terms of, you've seen them in the shadows, but now they're finally getting their spotlight. These are our new crop of people that we want to present to the world like a package, and then we will let them go. So when we, the Akimas of the world and the Karshinas of the world and the Tylers of the world, watch the show or lack of, watch the bloopers or watch the highlights the next day because it's going to be a long show, you see what they're presenting you. You see it as a nice package of, wow, Okuya is going to win for Get Out. We have now packaged him up when he was doing Black Mirror, when he was doing other films. We have now packaged him up, wrapped him up, and now we are presenting him to you to show you this is now the black male that we are looking forward to working with. Let's get it right.
Black. It's their version.
Exactly.
Of course, I love people. My best friend is black.
Exactly. Every person now in Hollywood, I can tell you right now, because I'm actually going to be on a shoot actually in the next hour or so. Actually, every person is trying to attach themselves to a black person right now because they're like, Black Panther blew up, or Mudbound. I didn't know she was. I knew she sung about all these things, but man, when she sang, it's like everyone now is trying to scramble to find their black person.
Their black person.
Their black
and
version
if you're smart,
Get Out.
You will be that black person. Let me tell you something.
Exactly.
People talk about this token thing. I'm going to tell you, and it's the unpopular opinion, but that's my life. It's fine. My nanny used to say something to me. I'm Guyanese and Bayesian, right? My nanny used to say something to me. Okima, people that tell you about he talking is gay to ride on the bus. When people are mad about this whole, I'm just a black, listen, God dog it, if you are the black person at the moment, you better go take that and then make something of it. I'm not mad at the tokens that they pick. That's what's up. Get your shine, get your coin. But what I'm saying is, if that is you, when it is your moment, you take it and then you do what we all do. You bring that ish home. You bring it home, meaning now that you're in a position with some juice, you can hire your black PA. You can hire your black above-the-line people. You can hire some more black people with some under fives. It doesn't matter if they're under five. I'm a working actress. Them 2 lines make me $1,000 in the union. Yes,
girl, I know what you're talking about.
Come on.
My little
so
2 seconds
like,
is something.
Yes, you look, girl, right. So it's like people bitch and moan about, they just want. I don't care. They don't. I wasn't even a whole person 500 years ago, according to them. So it's cool. You can bring me in as your token, as your only, as your other. Because what you don't know is I have a wedge in my pocket, and if you know G&E, you know what a wedge is. I have a wedge in my pocket. So when I come through the door, I'm going to make sure I come through it after everybody else, and I'm going to slip that wedge under the door ever so slightly so the people behind me notice it's cracked and they can come in too. That's what I'm going to do. So if I'm going to be a token for something, great. But when you start seeing more brown in this bowl, when you start seeing more raisins in this bowl of milk, just know that was me.
That's the thing that we have to make sure that
we got 20 seconds. We got 20 minutes left in the episode, and I want to get personal with you guys, right? So I want to know what you guys are working on in terms of your writing, your producing, your directing, and your acting. So I'm going to start with Okima. Give us some nuggets about what you have coming up.
Okay, great. So right now I am, on a network level, I am the swing coordinator for the Food Network's Chopped. And what's crazy is thank you, all of the women, all of the coordinators on that show are women. And unlike a lot of other places where your coordinator is just, there for basic logistics, these women are making decisions. The senior producer of the show is a woman. The EIC of the show is a woman, a black woman.
Nice.
The senior producer is a black woman. All of the coordinators, including myself, are women, not black women, but they're women. I'm excited about that. On a personal level, I've never been here, so this is amazing. On a personal level, I am in post with my next short. It is my first solo written short. I'm really excited about it.
Nice.
My big brother Patrick Coker, who actually penned the last 2 episodes of Tales this season for BET and has a bunch of stuff coming up. He is the director. And my first AD is a black woman. Her name is Shantae Cherry. She's actually a very accomplished filmmaker herself. Her film Silent Skies, which I helped produce, is 24 festivals in. And our new one just got into another 2. So that's moving. And then my short, Mars and Venus, I call it Sci-Fi Real-Fi, is now online. You can get the link on my site or on any of my socials. And it is written by myself and another woman of color. And it's a different type of film. Basically, the premise is we have gotten so far away from loving ourselves and each other in the present day that a biological glitch happens in the future where humans can no longer reproduce, love, or emote. So they are now petitioning to the past, which is us in the present, to save humanity from extincting itself due to its selfishness. So that is out, and between just you, me, Karshina, and the listeners, I'm really excited because I am through the first round of the Sundance Producer Lab and pushing to get it through round 2. So the hustle is real, but I am excited. There are a lot of amazing creatives around me doing amazing things, and I do my best to support as much as possible. But I feel like this is the year that all of the seeds that I've sown are finally becoming something to harvest. And with that harvest, I'm looking to feed the community collectively. So I'm excited.
Well, you're going to feed me,
Karshina, what do you have coming up?
Get your information.
Oh, no, we're going to talk, Miss Karshina, because I ain't never been in a horror, girl, so I'm in.
Well, you're going to feed me, Seymour, because I'm coming for it. I am here for it, yes. We are going to coordinate, yes. Thank you, Tyler, so much. Well, actually, as I had mentioned before, my production team, I'm actually shooting a music video, actually, today that we're doing. It's a great music video I'm using with my cinematographer, John Orphan. You should check his stuff out. Like, it's unbelievable, the amount of work and the amount of good things that he does. I'm shooting that literally, like, I'm going to be leaving this podcast in 7 minutes. So I'm literally going to be shooting. I drove to the studio, so we're actually going to be doing that. My film called The Dead of Night. The Dead of Night is the Russian horror film, short film that I wrote, directed, and also produced, and that's running in the film festival circuits right now. We've been semifinalists in a lot of things. We're being looked at to make sure that we're presented in the best light overseas, especially, like I mentioned before, languages and things that people don't realize. When you have people of different countries that are working, that people don't understand, that are working within your film, you have those countries who have like art people, or they have what they call like interior art, people that say, hey, you've got someone from Scandinavia. We want to, bring you into any of the Scandinavian countries to present your film because now you're now showcasing our person. So, those are the type of things that I'm doing. I'm making sure that when I employ people and when I have my actors, I'm using not only people of color, not only am I using people behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, I'm making sure that I'm using people around the world because I want to make sure that it's not just a domestic, film, it's an international film. And once you get those accolades internationally, then you have other opportunities where it's like, oh, yeah, The Dead of Night, the Russian film. You have all these, I know we're not, in the best of terms of Russia right now, But whatever, honey, there's the people that are paving my way to get up in there because I'm like, comrade, it's all good. But, in other countries, like I was in Sweden actually last year I was in Iceland. I mean, these are places that Black people don't really go to, but can find so much. Excuse me, the flu is real. And they can go so much into these things and then bring them into in-house. I'm also working on 2 other new horror films that I'm writing as well, similar to a thriller. The horrors that I do are not so much slasher or gore porn. They are more things that actually happen or things that could happen. So, stalkers are truly real. Like, stalkers are truly real. Those that's a horror. That's like anyone's fear and horror. People who are scared of this or have a phobia, those are like horrors, like generational horrors, like, oh, don't go, over to that house because, when I was smaller, grandmama told me, there's a witch that lives in that house. And, those type of horrors. Those are actual horrors that people go through, especially like in that type of genre. And yes, my Black people don't die. It's actually the white people who die within the first 5 minutes. Let's put that out there. Let's just get that out there. If they do die, their agent didn't call me for a better contract. But I do make sure that, my people at least live to the sequel. I'm actually, as far as acting-wise, I'm actually slated for a film coming out with Frankie Muniz called, and I hope I can say it. If not, they're going to get me. But it's called The Black String. And no, I do not die. I actually do live. Thank you very much. And so look for that film to be coming out, slated maybe later this year. I've got to double check with everything, so on the acting-wise. But again, those are the things that are propelling you and propelling me to get from point A to point B. If you've got to go international, if you want to do stuff domestically, you're trying to find these little nuggets, to put things together, because then your happy meal is going to be like, yep, I did that. Yep, I've got this body of work. Yep, I now know someone that's going to be in Sundance. I now know someone that's going to be in the Toronto Film Festival. Stuff like that. So when you are ready to present yourself, they are in key places for you to send out your stuff and or critique and or make sure that you are in a position to put your best foot forward. But, of course, my mom always told me, from a biblical standpoint, what's for you is for you. We can't always look at the next person and be like, man, I wish. It's like, great. Wishing is great, but what's for you is for you. You're in New York. You could have had a meeting with the same people from Warner Brothers that I could have had the same people from Warner Brothers, but yet they're 2 different places and 2 different, houses, and yet they're looking now more to say, we just want more of a city vibe. They're due New York, so then, that's good. But I'm proud of you. That's good. That's great. If they want that city vibe of New York bid versus a LA bid, that's great. You don't put down your fellow person who's also trying to come up, but we also have to, you and me, Akima, have to make sure that we find a way for the next people coming up after us. We have to find that line of how do they now step by step get to where we are. We're blessed. We are so blessed to be in the positions that we are.
It's listening,
but we need to find a line. Yep.
Well, I know for
that
me,
line has
I'm
to be out there.
I have never, when I worked on Masterclass, I hired the Black PAs I knew, the drivers I knew. And then what happened was, we do dramatic illustrations on Masterclass. I literally cast the whole season with my actor friends. So, you know what I mean? And then even as a producer, the last project I did, I was a lead producer on a new TV show on Brick TV called Soul King. I got 7 actors top part lead into the union for being in the project. It's about creating opportunity for people and bringing them along. Even with the sentence thing, I was afraid that maybe my answers weren't great. I went to great producers I knew and showed them my essay answers and was like, can you help me fix these up and clean these up? And they did. And what's funny is the girl who wrote the script that I presented for the lab is an actor friend of mine, first-time writer, never have written anything before, but she had a beautiful story, and so I helped her kind of massage. It's her work, but I helped her massage it, pull it out, and now guess what? Now she's a part of this team. My director, he was an educator at my college when I was a student. He's now my director on pretty much everything I touch, and he's a part of the team.
I've got those.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's how you give back. You dig into your community and see who needs this opportunity, who will not embarrass me, because that's important. Who can I help
that is
to
very
bring
important.
up to this new level as I then show the people on the level above me what I'm worth and what I'm doing.
Right.
Because me helping you is sowing another seed into someone helping me. So let's all just
and that's
do this
what it's
whole
all
list
about.
as we climb.
And that's what it's all about. It is sowing those seeds. I'm talking also more about how do we get those people who are not at that level just yet. Because I think it's just like a summer job. You got to start somewhere. And if your film doesn't look very well, or it's not shot very well, or you don't have, you don't always have to have a red camera. You don't always have to have, this, that. It'll help you. But if you have an eye, and if you are willing to learn, or you're even willing to just step on set to just be there and to learn some things so you can move forward, those are the people that I love. I love a willing heart. I had a second AD for something who never done anything ever. He just wanted to have the credit, and I saw his willing heart. But when he learned from the first AD on the film that I did, it was a series called Watch Me. It was a trilogy. It's Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner. It's Watch Me Again, and then Watch Out. It's it's a horror film, and it goes around breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's great. You should check it out. He didn't know anything to do. But then he learned, and I would tell you he was always first on set, always first on this, always that, soaking up those things. And so now he has now moved out now to L.A. He is now ready to get his feet wet, because now he feels like, wow, someone gave me that opportunity for me to learn, and for me to actually do my passion of, wow, I've never been in this position before, because no one would give me a chance. And no one was like, oh, well, you didn't do this. It's like, yeah, I know I didn't, but it's all good. Anyway, my babies, I do have to go. I appreciate you.
Yes.
Akima, girl, we are going to talk. We are going to
Girl, I'm
coordinate.
excited.
Yes.
I just want to say congratulations on everything you're doing, and just continue to be awesome, sis.
You too.
I really, really appreciate who you are.
Thank
you.
Thank
you for joining us on the panel. I appreciate it, and I'll catch up with you. We'll talk soon. Akeem, I just got one question for you to close out the show.
Guys.
We got 5
Thank
minutes
you.
left on the broadcast.
Bye,
so the question is, for young boys and girls breaking into the film industry, they're our future, what advice would you have for them? Young meaning like pre-teens, teens.
Your age is not a hindrance to how much you can do and accomplish. There are so many programs out there for youth filmmakers and youth directors, producers, etc. If this is something that you're interested in, begin to study. Watch the things that you wouldn't normally watch. Watch some of the classics. Learn if you want to be a director, learn who the directors are. Figure out the style that you're into, what turns your knobs, what pushes your buttons. Find a mentor or 3. I would not be where I am at all without mine. So find a mentor or so that will help you navigate this world early. If I was able to know half, even a third of what I know now at those ages, where I would be today would probably be so much further. I didn't start doing production until I was in my 30s. So if I had been doing it in my teens and my 20s, oh my gosh, I can only imagine. So if this is something that interests you, find out what you want to do by doing a bunch of things to figure out what works for you, and then also figure out why you want to do this. Do you just want to be a star? Do you just want to be famous? Do you just want to be rich? If that's why, find another profession, because it don't start like that. If you want to create, if you want to say something, if you want to impact people, those are good reasons to do this. And then you just continue to figure out ways to learn and to just start doing it. You have a phone, you have a small camera, Christmas is a couple months away. You can start stashing for that camera now. get the equipment that you want to use, or get some kind of equipment, whether it's just your phone, you borrow a camera, whatever, and start shooting things. Figure out your style. Figure out your voice. As young as you are, it's going to change 10 times. But once you figure it out now, then as it evolves, you're able to move with the evolution of your voice and your what you have to say. But just go for it. You can do it. Your age doesn't matter. Your gender doesn't matter. Your sexual preference doesn't matter. Your socioeconomic status doesn't matter. All that matters is if this is what you want, go get it, period.
Excellent advice. And where can people find you if they're interested in contacting you to work with you on some film projects?
Absolutely. I am always open to working with awesome people on awesome stuff. You can find me on social, Instagram, Twitter, at Okema, O-K-E-M-A-T, Moore. You can also go to my website, which is Moore, M-O-O-R-E, Than, T-H-N, Enough, E-N-U-F-F, so More Than Enough. Enough is spelled super black, .com. And there you can see some of my reels, some of my work, and there is contact info there for you to email me if you're interested. And it doesn't have to be for a project. I get young people and adults emailing me all the time just asking me about how I got where I am or where I'm looking to go. I've gotten opportunities and inquiries through my email. I do answer all emails that come in personally myself. So feel free to reach out if you have a question, an inquiry, you want to hire me, you want to talk. I'm always here to give back as much as possible. And if I'm not able to speak at the time, I will tell you and let you know when I can circle back to you if things are just rather busy. But please feel free to reach out and let's talk, let's communicate. I think it's really important that we are even just a shoulder or an ear for our fellow creatives, because most times nobody wants to listen, and mama don't know about this business, and uncle such and such is not in the know. So you want to talk to somebody that understands, even if it's just to vent or to soundboard about things. And I'm happy to be that for you when and if I'm able.
So I want to thank you for coming on to the broadcast and talking to our listeners today. You gave some great information that's going to be really useful. As always, we have a resource page on blackpillradio.com where I'll have the contact information, the social media information for our guests who were on the panel today, so people can always go to the page and find past guests to work with and inquire about anything they want to inquire about. Remember, we are live every first and third Sunday morning of each month, and starting this Sunday coming up and every second and fourth Sunday of each month, we're going to have our video lessons that we're going to start launching. It's going to kind of be similar to TED Talk, where some of our past guests are going to be giving back and giving information to our listeners and our viewers. So I want to thank you guys for listening to the broadcast, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks, but be on the lookout for the video lessons, which will launch next Sunday, March 11th. And Okema, I will be in touch with you because we're definitely going to work on some projects together.
I'm excited. Guys, keep listening to Black Pill Radio for your information on the business and people in the business. I think that what you're doing, Tyler, is so amazing, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. And I'm so proud of you for just giving back to the community in this way and giving us a platform to talk to people that maybe wouldn't otherwise know who we are, so that we can commiserate and communicate and collaborate. So you guys have a wonderful, powerful, productive, and amazing week, and it was so nice to talk to everyone.
All right. Take care, and see you guys in 2 weeks.